Welcome to the West Ham Boys. Thank you for joining me. I've been away for a week or so, went away to Cyprus with the other half and had a very pleasant time and tried not to think too much about football during that time. International break, it's always a good time to go away, I guess. But that hasn't stopped all the stories coming out about West Ham, and they're coming in thick and fast over the past few weeks. Now, this is going to focus. I'm doing a number of short videos to focus on some specific subject matters. And this one is all about player injuries and about Crysencio Summerville. Well, he's out injured at the moment, isn't he? Now, let's start with, I'm sure you already know, I'm sure you have already heard that Constantinos Mavropanos has been withdrawn from the Greek national team, who will face Hungary, I think, on Tuesday evening, because he sustained a head injury, which he got again in the game against Paraguay. Now, under Premier League and FA guidance, and probably across most football bodies now, a player who sustained a head injury is immediately removed from play if concussion is suspected. There's no same-day return. Then there is a minimum of 24 hours before any return to activity can be done if concussion is confirmed or if it's strongly suspected, as in Dinos' case. In that instance, players then enter a 6-stage graduated return to play process, which includes 48 hours of relative rest, then some light exercise, which leads on to football specific exercise, then onto non-contact training, leading on to full contact training, and finally returning to competitive football, with each stage requiring the player to be symptom-free before progressing. So, while the minimum number of days not playing is theoretically around 7 days after concussion or suspected concussion, in practice, many players can take between 10 to 14 days to recover. And any symptom recurrence basically resets that progression. So if there's any notion that, say, within 3 days of recuperating, that Dinos or any other player has symptoms of concussion, the clock sets back to 0 again. So there's no fixed universal number of days, because recovery varies by individual player and by symptom severity. But a week away from football is the absolute minimum, and 2 weeks is the common. So does that mean that Dinos is already out for Sunday's FA Cup game against Leeds United? Quite possibly, almost definitely. Look, he captained the team in the last round against Burton Albion, and he would indeed be a miss. But the consolation is that he should be available for the next Premier League game against Wolves on Friday week. Now, there was a fear, of course, that Ronald Todibo could also miss the FA Cup tie against Leeds United this weekend. That would leave Axel Disasi and Max Kilman as the only two available centre backs in the senior squad. Now, there is, of course, Ezra Myers, who's done exceptionally well when he's been called upon. So if Nuno wants to use Myers, he can indeed do so alongside Disasi if he doesn't fancy Max Kilman to play. In the behind closed doors friendly against Ipswich Town last week, Todibo and Summerville were not involved, which kind of raised concerns that they're both still some time away from recovering from their respective injuries. But it seems that their absences were more precautionary than anything else. But as I mentioned in my show before I went away, my understanding is that both Todibo and Summerville will be fit for the game against Leeds on Sunday. Now, whether they both start or not is a completely different matter. I believe that Summerville will be available from the bench. I'm pretty sure, well, he may start against his former team, but I would say almost definitely we will see Todibo starting alongside Disasi. Now, before I talk any more about Summerville, if you're new to this channel, first time you're watching the West Ham Boys, or if you've watched me before but yet to become a subscriber, the QR code that's appeared there will take you straight to the subscription page after this show. You click on that, go to subscribe free of charge and become a subscriber of the West Ham Voice. I'm trying to get to the 10,000 mark, and I'm not far away from 10,000 subscribers. If you enjoy this video, you can click the like button below the video, and there's also a hype button as well that you can click, which helps to elevate this particular show. It allows you to promote the show on my behalf, so please do that. Right. Despite Summerville missing out on making the senior Netherlands squad for the first time in his career, actually, hope isn't lost on him potentially making this summer's World Cup. Dutch boss Ronald Koeman spoke about Crysencio Summerville and said he confirmed that the West Ham winger would indeed have been called up to the Netherlands squad for the current international games. Summerville has been in great form for West Ham this season up until the point he got injured, and as a result, as we know, he subsequently missed the games against Man City and Aston Villa. Now, Summerville has had some kind of a renaissance at West Ham this season. He's been revitalised under the guidance of Nuno and was kind of looking forward to his first senior cap. Unfortunately, he was denied on this occasion, but if he was looking for encouragement, he certainly found that with the Dutch manager and what he said. Koeman stated that Summerville remains a serious option for this summer's World Cup. Encouraging indeed for Summerville, because all he has to do is keep up his excellent form after he returns from injury, and that means he knows that Koeman will be keeping an eye on him and his progression, and he could almost certainly be called up to the senior Dutch squad for the summer. That bodes well for the player, and it bodes well for West Ham United as well, because he knows that if he maintains his club form, then the opportunity for a place in the World Cup squad will be his. Something to play for. I mean, he's got a lot to play for at West Ham anyway, but what an added bonus. And what do we want? We want an all-firing Crysencio Summerville. So not only for him to make the Dutch squad, but also because his input at West Ham United could certainly save us from relegation this season.